On this episode of All Things Business, the podcast, we're joined by our new digital partner, DFA Law, and we've got the practice manager and partner, Danny Roberts. Danny, thanks for joining us.
No problem, Frazer. Thank you for having me.
We've been our digital partner. Why was that something that DFA wanted to get involved with?
Being a local law firm, and we've always been local, we try and support local where we can, particularly in business, also in charity and things. But I got first to know all things business in November 2018 when I attended the Business Awards that Kerry Reynolds from Metro Bank invited me along to. And it was a new brand at that time. It might not, but certainly to me, it was a new brand. Yeah. And I think, I've seen it go from strength to strength. I think the place you've got in the market you work in is growing. I think your recent changes, to me, they feel like as if something's growing. Obviously, the team's got bigger as well. So it's something we're happy to get on board with and support.
You relaxed?
Nearly.
Good.
Give me 35, 40 minutes and
We'll be all right.
Absolutely fine.
So we're going to kick off because one thing that is unique about your partner role at DFA Law is that you are not a trained or qualified solicitor. So It's quite different for a law firm to have a non-solicitor as a partner. So your role as practice manager and partner, obviously, just talk that through us. How did that opportunity come about for you?
Well, previously I was at a law firm in Northampton called Turner Coulston, which later became Borneo Martel Turner Coulston. I was there for 22 years, and I got approached to join DFA in 2017, and I had a couple of meetings with DFA and laid out that, what my visions were for how the law firm could progress, and that if I was to join, I would want a slice of the pie, for want of a better phrase. So they were on board with that, and then it happened in April 21.
Because I don't think there's anybody locally that has.
No, so to become a partner in a law firm under our regulations, you have to change your legal entity structure to become an ABS, which is an alternative business structure under the solicitors regulation rules. I think there are a couple of law firms in Milton Keynes that have done it, a lot more sizable than us. But certainly for a firm of our size, with our sort of employee level and numbers, then we're probably the only one to do it. But I think that shows that we're a forward-thinking firm. Lawyers are good at being lawyers. Finance people are good at doing finance. I pretend to do a bit of both.
You're doing a good job of it.
Thank you.
Doing a good job. So partnership, that was it 2020?
April 21.
Yeah.
Started a new financial year in April 21. It was actually set to be April 20.
Something happened in April 20.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what happened. I think there was some news. I can't remember exactly. But one thing I do vividly remember is I went into the office towards the middle of March, when we were still allowed to, and Mark Brown, who's one of the partners at DFA, he said to me that he didn't think I should do it in April 20 because he was concerned about what the outlook looked like in terms of what the government were saying, etc. And he didn't want my first year as an equity partner and ergo self-employed to be one of strain and stress, and he thought that it might be a better decision for me to stay on as a salaried member of staff and be guaranteed an earning, which it actually cost me money in the end. I've worked it all out.
I can imagine.
But it was, it was a nice thing for him to say, because they could have, when you become an equity partner, you invest capital. So rather than take my money and, potentially see it struggle, he was quite, his moral compass was in the right direction.
I suppose that almost sort of concreted the relationship as well, though.
Absolutely, yeah. I get on really well with all four of my partners. We've also got 3 non-equity partners. Hopefully, we continue to grow and that can change. But I get on well with all of them. Some of them have become really good friends, and it makes for a nice working environment. And I wouldn't change it now.
So we're going to people that don't know you, because I'd go that you're quite well known for good reasons in Northamptonshire and Northampton. So we people that regularly listen to the podcast know that we mock you about golf, that we don't want to play with you because you are talented, should we say?
Previously talented at golf.
Previously, I was going to get onto that in a moment. But huge golf fan. Obviously, I think our relationship blossomed when I go back to 2019. When I came in to see you at DFA Law, it was Christmas jumper day. You were wearing an Aston Villa jumper, and me being a fellow Aston Villa fan, I think that sort of set us off on our love and joy of football and the.
I'm glad my last impression was 2019 because it was actually 2018. We met at the Business Awards.
Did
and you had just started here.
Still 2019. It wasn't the year before. November 2019.
You might want to edit it. It's definitely November 18.
We'll edit that bit out. But yeah, huge Villa fan. Big football fan in general.
Yep.
A lot of people probably won't know that you're football coach as well.
Qualified football coach, level 1, FA level 1.
So that's you guys look after. Not you guys. You look after Elsbarton under 11s.
Elsbarton under 11s, and a good friend of mine is assistant coach. And essentially, it's a small village team. Effectively, they all pretty much go to school together. There's a mixed array of talent, but they tend to love playing football and just being together, and they've got a nice attitude towards it.
One thing, obviously, you're obviously involved in the football and the coaching, but DFA Law also support Elsbarton Football Club as well, which is funny.
Yeah, we sponsor
you're a partner there and a coach, and DFA.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in giving back, and yes, it's some marketing or advertising for us, but it's really not about that. It's about facilitating children to be able to play football. This last year, with the economic climate we have, has proved that even more. Things like football do cost. It's not run for profit by the football club, but the kit costs, the match balls cost, the referees' fees costs. So whatever we can do to sort of help that, we're happy to do. Some of it my partners probably don't know about, so possibly shouldn't talk about it too much. Yeah, I think we also sponsor Road under 12s as well, because one of our senior solicitors is involved at Road Football Club. So sports a big impact into your life. We'll get on to golf because I was fortunate enough to play the county course last week for the first time. Those that don't know, I chipped in from 155 yards and told everybody I knew straight away. I jokingly texted you whilst I was there and said, was it 2014 and 2018 were good years, to which you reminded me that there should be 8 entries. Managed to get my name on the board at Northants County 8 times. Went one further by saying if I went to Kingsthorpe, it was 20. I think it's 23. 23. Yeah. I've been left there a while, so I can't remember exactly. But no. So with your golf, we I think that's where we've gotten as well, because we have played golf. Well, I say we've played golf. You've played golf, and I've wandered around the field looking for my ball. But golf's a big part of your life, right? But you didn't take it up till probably a little bit later on in life. Yeah, I think I was about 13 or 14, and it started like a lot of children do. We found a golf club somewhere, and we're trying to hit the crossbar from various parts of the football pitch at Errington Park in Duston, and went and had a couple of games at Delapre, which is a local municipal at the time, the only one, and just really enjoyed it. I wasn't particularly very good at it, and one summer day I went home, and in the Chronicle Echo newspaper there was an advert for junior members at Kingsthorpe Golf Club. So my friend and I, asked our parents if we could do that, and it was around about June, July time, and it was £10 to join for the remainder of their golfing year, which was the end of October. So when I went home and told my dad that it was £10 membership, he thought that was either a week or a month, and it was for the sort of 4 or 5 months, including the summer holidays. So that's when I really got into it, and I probably played most days thereafter. But my first round of golf was I shot 128 with a 15 on the 15th at Kingsthorpe. So that's good going. So it's been an upward journey since then. But it's 2 rounds of golf for you now, isn't it? 128 on a really good day. That could be, yeah. My best ever rounds of golf have actually been in local business days. I had a 65 round Northants County in the David Williams Golf Day, which was bogey free, which is the only time I remember doing that. And I had,
Wasn't it Overston?
Was it
And at
BBC?
Overston in the PBC day, I had 8 birdies and 2 bogeys, so I was 6 under. So what's that around there? 66. So I've had a couple of good days, and I've won a few things. But it's been a great sport for me. It's been great for meeting people. It's probably been great for business in a way, because I've met a lot of people. Golf's got a sort of I think it's got a reputation to be an elitist sport. It really isn't. But equally, it's not the cheapest thing to sort of start up and do. But I've certainly met a lot of good people through that. Taught me a lot of good things, not just about behaviour and sort of socialising, but also business and conduct, really. So it's been great for me, and hopefully it will be for a good few years yet.
Yeah, hopefully if you can get your handicap back down to where it should be.
Yeah. Well, it's gone up a little bit. I blame the new handicapping system, but really it's because I've become a worse golfer. But
I mean, it's worse. It's 3.6.
3.0 now.
3.0.
I did get to 0.9, and I had a ambition to get to 0.4, which would make me a scratch golfer, and I could be able to enter the Open Championship. But the last few years have been busy or other reasons, and I might. I genuinely think I'm a better golfer today than I was when I was playing good level of events when I was 18 years old. So.
Those that haven't had the pleasure of playing golf with Danny Roberts, I always say every putt's $1 million putt. But when Danny's breathing over your shoulder because there's scoring points on a Stableford on a golf day, it's almost a $10 million putt, because you can feel him breathing on your shoulder, and will not tut, but your ability to read a green is amazing. Like I've sunk putts playing with you that I would have never ever in a million years done, because you've that vision of what you see going forward. And it's not only golf. You're I said this the other day to you. You're one of those annoying people, similar to Arthur, that can turn his hand to any sport and be efficient at it. And was sport a big part for you growing up?
Absolutely, yeah. I played all sports. I played football to a fairly decent standard, cricket, hockey.
Basketball?
I did play basketball. I had some challenges with basketball.
Yeah.
My brother was a better basketball player than I. We both went to Northampton School for Boys, which is big on basketball. I played rugby briefly at Northampton School for Boys, but I was at school with Steve Thompson, and once he tackled me once in PE, I thought this probably isn't for me. So I packed that up. But yeah, played all sports, and it was golf became the main one at around the age of 21, I suppose. I didn't have really time to play all of the other ones, and I was fitting in cricket after golf and football after golf, and so it was clear that golf was what I enjoyed the most. And
yeah, you play what you enjoy. I jest about it, but I do. I enjoy playing golf with you, because I think
Is this where I say I enjoy playing with you too?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, where for a few holes I will play better than I generally do because of listening to you or trying to impress you, because there's
I genuinely try not to give too many golf tips. I think I've only ever had one 20-minute golf lesson, and that was fairly recently in the last 5 years. And from what the pro was saying, it was I'd have had to put a lot of time and effort in, which I don't mind putting the effort in, but I haven't got the time. So so I stopped that. But so I don't try to give too many tips in terms of technical tips. But in golf, to bore people quickly, half of the game is from 50 yards and in, and arguably half of the game is putting. So I've always been a able putter, and reading greens is part of that. But also
takes me on to a great story. First time we played with our famous four-ball, Richard from Horsens, recently retired. Grant from the Aperts group.
Yeah.
First time you met Grant, and obviously that's always an experience. First time anybody meets Grant, and I think it was the first hole, Holston. Lovely drive to the top of the hill. You wedged in. You're probably within 7-8 foot for a putt, and you missed your birdie putt by about an inch and tutted. And Grant came over to me and whispered into my ear, and I won't repeat it what he said on here, but he was like, "Is this bloke winding me up?" So I said, "No, I think he's quite good." And then obviously, as it went round, and that four balls got stronger. So you're obviously sport's a big thing. You obviously enjoy that. To quote or to say what we were talking about earlier, a man of many talents, right? Because as partner and practice manager of DFA Law, it wasn't always sort of like the law side that you were going to go into. You're more of a, as you touched on at the beginning there, more of a finance background.
Yeah.
So just sort of take us back, your journey in employment and what got you to where you are today.
Okay, so when I was doing my A-levels in 1995, my parents decided that as a family we were going to emigrate to Australia. So that was the family plan, and university, which was on my horizon, became deferred. But ultimately, my brother didn't end. So I've got one brother. My brother didn't end up coming to Australia because his girlfriend fell pregnant, and he wanted to stay here. So the family did move to Australia in January '96, but I never really settled. In all honesty, I didn't. I was 18 years old. Had what I felt was a bit of a life here. It was mainly social life. It wasn't any working particularly. Yeah. So I stayed in Australia for around 7 months and worked in Australia. Got quite a good job. I was being paid around £12 an hour, which in 1996 was good money. So essentially bought myself a flight back and came back to live in Northampton. And I'll be honest, that summer, so I came back in the July, that summer was really difficult. I didn't really have anywhere to live as such. I think I was living with my girlfriend's mother, and getting a job or a decent job and having earned sort of half decent money in Australia, there's expectations of what you want to earn. And I really struggled, and it got to the November or maybe October, and I thought, right, I'm going to go back to Australia. So I booked a flight back to Australia, I think it was the 12th of November. And back in these days, there was no mobile phones, or if they were, you needed a car to transport them. Yeah. And by chance, I was at my nan's flat, and Turner Coulston rang, and they had a position that I'd applied for many months previously, which was just an office junior role. And I spoke to the office manager, and he said, we didn't interview you before because you were clearly overqualified for it. But the person we employed hasn't worked out. Are you interested? I said, well, I am, but I've got a flight next week back to Australia, so it needs to be fairly quick. So I think I went in a couple of days later and was offered the job the next day, cancelled my flight, and went to work at Turner Coulston on the 13th of November. And then the following summer, I was actually made redundant from Turner Coulston, I think around the June time. So brain had gone again. Let's go back to Australia again. Yeah. And yeah, it was a bit of a anyway. And by chance, the accounts manager at Turner Coulston was a guy called Andrew Kelly. He'd been offered a role to go and work at Carlsberg, and it was something he wanted to do, which meant the accounts assistant was going to get a promotion as accounts manager. Therefore, they had a vacancy as accounts assistant. And my sort of A-level results and GCSE results were strong in maths, so they asked if I would reconsider my redundancy and take a role in the accounts team. So I was delighted to do that. And just to give some context to when I say about earning potentials and expectations, my first salary at Turner Coulston was £5,000 a year. I think I came out with £408. I smoked, I drank, played golf, played cricket, played football.
I'd have £308 left over.
On the first day of the wages, I had £308 left over. Yeah. By the end of that first week, I didn't have very much. And it was, I was living with my grandparents at that time, and they had a flat in Duston. I think they wanted £200 a month. It just got a bit. It was all getting a bit. So the role in the accounts team was actually it was a pay rise as well. So I went into the accounts team, and the lady who was accounts manager was Nicola Wallace, who we actually became a couple about a year later. Actually, it wasn't as long as that. It didn't take me long. Anyway, late in '97, we became a couple, and so she was my boss, and she was also my girlfriend. And then we later got married. We moved pretty quickly in terms of a relationship, and we moved in together. Bought our first house together in 2003. Nikki owned a house in Abington, and then we moved in 2003. So my accounts journey started, I suppose, and getting involved in the finances of a law firm. It's quite intimate, the finances of a law firm. You get to see, that yes, you look after clients' money, but you're also looking after the owner's money and dealing with debtors and creditors and all the other things. But during that time, in early 2000, Nikki and I were asked to help a local company called Computer Links with their bookkeeping. We both had experience in bookkeeping. I'd done some legal cashier online courses. Well, they weren't so much online then because the internet wasn't quite as what it is today. But Nikki had taught me everything. She was bright. She was beautiful, and they asked us if we could help. So we started doing some bookkeeping, and we also did some for Drake and Partners, which is another local company. Yeah. And there was a couple of other companies. So we set up a partnership called D&N Accountancy. Obviously creative in creating names. Yeah. And anyway, so we did that, and we were doing that for a few years, and we were, earning some okay money and saving up to move house. And I think it was around 2001, it might have been 2002, Computer Links got into financial trouble. They got behind with tax and VAT, and one of their directors sadly suffered a stroke, and it really affected their output in their business. And it ultimately went into liquidation. And by this point, we were probably doing, I don't know, probably 20, 30 hours a week for Computer Links. And when it went into liquidation, there was a company based upstairs called Hostit, and the main guy there, a guy called Andrew Bishop, had heard that Computer Links was in trouble, but they had a decent client base, they had some good products, and he approached Nikki and I about buying Computer Links from the liquidators. So Nikki and I had a chat, and with Nikki being my boss at Turner Coulston, we felt that if anyone was going to do it, it should be Nikki, because it gave me a progression path, because I'd learnt quite a lot by then. I was doing okay, and we thought, well, I can cope with Turner Coulston, and I can have an assistant, etc., etc. So we ended up Nikki ended up investing into Computer Links, and a new company was formed called Nuco Technologies. And if I remember rightly, we invested £10,000, which was probably everything we had, to buy the share that we were sort of offered from Andrew. And it was from Mercer and Hull with the liquidators, and they paid £100,000 for the business, which I think was turning over around 15 grand a month, something in that region. So it was quite a lot of money for a company turning over that amount, but as we said, there was a decent business. Anyway, so Nikki worked for free for the first year. She did some work at Turner Coulston. I think she did sort of 2 or 3 days a week. And I suppose in the background, I was learning more and more and taking more and more on. And then we got married in 2006, and Samuel, our first child, came along in 2008, and Nikki never returned to Turner Coulston from that point. And by then, I think Nuco was, it had turned into I can't remember exactly, but around a £1.2 million turnover company at that point. Yeah. And a couple of years later, they bought their first data centre in Milton Keynes, a 48,000 square foot data centre, which was, I think, previously Bank of Scotland's data centre. Because it was all around the time when the banks were struggling in 2008-09 to dispose of some assets. So they managed to buy that mainly with cash. I think it was about 50-50. It was a sizable purchase. And I carried on at Turner Coulston, became finance manager, and learned a lot about business, I suppose, through that. I've always been interested in business. I still am. And ultimately, Nikki didn't work back at Turner Coulston from 2008, and I stayed there till 2018. So, and just learned a lot more that way. And
carried on. Whilst you've mentioned Nikki, do you want to speak about that? Because if you don't, we can move on. But
Yeah, no.
one
so
thing,
Nikki, 2022. So 2021 for me was an amazing year. Became a partner in a law firm, which was not something I'd always aspired to because my career wasn't ever, written down. It was very much see what comes along.
Yeah.
But from about 2016, I think that was always my ultimate goal. So, to achieve that was amazing. We'd gone through obviously 2020 and 2021 in terms of the pandemic and things. And then in April 22, I should say we had another child, Oliver, in 2011. And then in 2022, Nikki sadly passed away very suddenly. So everything was going great. Financially, everything was, brilliant. Nuka was flying, turning over £3.5 million by this point. She was enjoying it. She had some big projects on the go. And then, just one day in April last year, 12th of April, she just died very suddenly from, well, it's still unclear exactly, but so the last 9 months has been, or 10 months has been horrific.
It's been a challenge for you.
Yeah, it has, and I tried to look at things as optimistically as I can, and I've been fortunate. I was in a position financially where even if I'd had to stop, it wouldn't have brought everything crashing down. And my business partners were amazing. My family have been amazing, and my friends have been amazing. I wouldn't be sat here now without all that help. And you've been very helpful. You've given Samuel lifts from football because I can't get to both venues, and so it's been really hard. But fairly early on in this new process, I decided that I had to show the boys, my children, that there is some hope and there is some I suppose hope's the best word. Without my boys, I think I probably would have just shut the hatches down and probably gone drinking and whatever else would have comforted me at that time. But I think there is a huge thing for me to do now, and that is to work hard and show them that you can get rewards for working hard, and that even when tragedy and horrific things are thrown in your way, you can get through it with the right support.
Sticking on that support, because as a father of two boys, I can't imagine what you've gone through. I wouldn't want to go through it myself, but I know your friends and family have been amazing for you, and I've tried to make you laugh along the way. But who, for people that may have gone through this themselves or are extremely unfortunate to go through it in the future, what support has been there for you? Is because we spoke about it before, where you almost felt you wanted to bottle everything up, but that made you feel worse.
Yeah, there's been a whole range of things, really. The first, I remember vividly that the weather was amazing in April. Sleep wasn't particularly something that was coming easy to me, so I was sitting in my garden really early. We'd got a puppy only the year before, and believe it or not, I'd never said this 2 or 3 years ago, but the dog has been a great support. He probably looks at me as if I'm absolutely crazy sometimes, but my children have struggled at times, but equally they've been extremely strong as well, and my main focus has been on them, and as long as I can be strong for them, we'll be okay. Now, people say you have to look after yourself, and yes, you do, and I've slowly sort of found ways of starting to enjoy things in life again and stuff like that, but it's just exceptionally hard. I've played, 6 or 7 rounds of golf in 8 months or whatever it is, because the organisation that goes, I used to get home from football, from the coaching on the Saturday morning, throw my stuff in, get a shower, go to golf, come home 5 or 6 hours later. And that was my Saturday afternoon. It was my release. It was my time with some good friends. But now I've got a dog to sort out. I've got two. Oliver's only 11. He's only just turned 11. Samuel's nearly 15, so he's a bit more self-sufficient and he can cook himself a pot noodle. But it's sorting stuff out all the time for those really. So, but my close friends and family have been. I mean, I'm very close to Nikki's parents. With my parents having, my father still lives in Australia. My mum lives back in Dustin now. They split up, but I've always been close to Nikki's mum and dad. We've been for 25 years. I went round their house on a Wednesday, and I still do that with the boys. And I suppose I'm not one to think, poor me, because there are, no matter where you look, there's people in terrible positions. Everybody sadly goes through distress and tragedy, and I can't ever put it right, and I still ask every single morning why. But I've got enough people that I can just text or WhatsApp or or just phone and say, and the best man at our wedding for the first 2 or 3 months just kept coming round. And bless him, I kept thinking, God, this is annoying, but actually he was just doing it to make sure I was okay. And I'm not going to name everyone because I don't want everyone to feel like I've missed anyone out, but the friends and family that have helped me, they know who they are, and I'm very grateful for it.
I've said this a number of times. That support network around you has been amazing because you needed that, and you still do need it, in my opinion, because you're trying to be strong for your boys.
Yeah.
If you don't have that there.
Yeah, and there's some real tough times still. I should also add that, my business partners at DFA have been amazing. And then when I said that some have become friends, it's probably through this last 10, 11 months.
Yeah.
And I've probably said things to them I never thought I'd say to a business partner, but they were quite happy for me to get it out and just to listen and realise that some of the stuff I was saying wasn't nonsensical. But it's been, it is what it is.
Yeah, I get that, because you're probably struggling for the words there, but you've gone through a life-changing moment that nobody would wish upon anybody, and you are doing an amazing job. I want to say thank you for the job that you're doing, because the boys are amazing. They're happy boys, they're well-behaved, they're well-mannered, and that's coming from not only just from you, but obviously from Nikki as well. But you're doing the best of what you can in the situation. I also want to say thank you for coming on and doing this, because I appreciate it's incredibly hard talking about it, but I do believe that you could be a beacon of hope for somebody out there. That if
look, there's always hope. There has to be. You guys got behind a campaign last winter for Dave Mansfield with his son Jesse.
Yeah.
And Dave and I were exchanging messages last week. Dave and I used to go to school together. We were mates at school. I wouldn't say we've been mates ever since, but we've been mates at school. So I'm a very sort of loyal person by nature. And we were exchanging messages last week, and I think we've both been in really dark places. And he was almost saying to me what I was saying to him. It was, there has to be hope. And some days I feel like I've gone backwards again, but I haven't woken up since that day not wanting to go back. But that's not the right way to go forward. So I did a mental health first aid course in January 22.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that's helped. I did it more for the staff at DFA, to give. It was a stressful time with all the things happening, the pandemic and everything else. But what I really want to do at DFA, if I'm going off track a bit, but I want it to be an environment where everybody can try and enjoy themselves and feel that they're empowered to be whatever they want to be. And that's not an easy thing to do with 40-odd staff. But, things like the mental health sort of first aid point for them to go to, we've brought in a lot of benefits for the staff. I believe we looked after them through the pandemic in terms of, yes, we used the furlough scheme. I think we had 5 or 6 people on furlough, but we paid them the full wages. You know, we didn't make any redundancies. We actually grew in 2020, believe it or not. You know, so I'm very keen to make it a decent place, and I'm probably a bit naive, but if everybody treated everybody how they want to be treated themselves, the world would be a lot better place.
Yeah, it would.
And, you know, yes, my personal circumstances are pretty bad at times. There's a lot to be grateful for, and the things we've built together. And Nikki became a successful business person in her own right. I hate that she can't share my success now, but she's left a legacy for the boys. I'm determined that they're too young to understand that at the moment, but I'm determined they will know what that is at the right time. I've still got enough drive in me to want to create my own. There's some days I think I can't do this, and some days I want to get out of bed, and I drive to school with a woolly hat on and not showered, and but I go home, have a word with myself, come back, stick a suit on and go to work. But work's actually been really helpful in the main. It's a distraction if nothing else, and I work with good people. I genuinely I'd help any single one. I'd help anyone, to be fair. But work's been a good distraction. I've got a couple of tough things coming up. I've got the anniversary, and we've got Mother's Day, and it was Nikki's birthday last week. But I just look at the boy. Genuinely, I do it. And it sounds a bit pre-scripted, but I just look at the boys and think, how can I make them okay? And as long as I can make them okay, hopefully I'll be better in a few years. And whatever. There's no timeline on it, but whatever.
I just want to tell you are doing, like I said a minute ago, you are doing a fantastic job. I look at me and I think, could I do what Danny Roberts is doing? And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I could.
You could. There's no choice, Frazer.
I know, I'd have to.
There is no choice. There is no alternative. And that's...
I look at how you balance a dad, sport, school, work, the grief that you're going through, and just think, it's amazing.
Thank you.
We'll try and get on to something a little bit more looking into the future. It's difficult for what Danny Roberts' future looks like, but DFA, obviously you've grown, you've added a couple of new partners over the year. What does the future look like for DFA Law?
Well, hopefully very good. We've been around a long time, 185 years. The legal market in Northamptonshire is very strong. I think when I actually joined DFA, I had to do a presentation on what I saw the challenges being, etc. And I think there was around 54 law firms in Northamptonshire at that time. Yeah. There's probably a few less now with some consolidations and mergers and some retirements, but it's still very competitive. We've grown year on year. I think last year was our best ever year. This year's, which ends at the end of this month, looks like being better than last year. There's a lot of grey clouds in the media as to what the financial future and economic climate looks like. But I'm very pleased with the people we've got, the people I work with. I always refer to everyone as a colleague. Nobody works for me because yes, there's 5 equity owners, but there's 40 odd of us that make that business work. I have growth plans for DFA. One of them we won't get to next year, which was part in my plan, but that's not all our fault. I hope we can go from strength to strength and continue to recruit good people. Staffing and recruitment is exceptionally difficult. I'm sure I wouldn't be alone in saying that. Yeah. And retention is equally difficult, but as I've touched on previously, we've put some benefits in place. If we can make we've invested in the office, we've made staff breakout rooms, we've redesigned the offices. We've invested quite well in that. We're having a staff wellbeing day in September, which is to all staff and extended family. We're doing a Nits and Knockout type event. And we just try and if we can look after our staff, we'll be absolutely fine. And
the challenges in business at the moment are people either getting the right people, keeping the people, and what you've done with the office is amazing. The doors look fantastic. The flooring looks great. I think there's an amazing sign just in the reception that looks really good. The meeting rooms all look good. It's welcoming when you come in.
Yeah,
but that's not only for visitors and clients. That's for
no,
your
it's
staff.
not. It's about making a better place to be in. And I think the challenges we've got aren't just in our own making. Within a sort of 15-mile sort of circle, we've got big city firms paying city rates, and we can't compete with that. But we can compete on the quality of work we get. We punch above our weight in terms of the quality of clients we've got, and we can provide a proper work-life balance. And if I can make that a happier place in the hours that we are at work, because we're all at work a long time, then there's not a lot more you can do. And I think DFA's reputation is very good. I think we've had a change of appearance over the last 5-6 years, and I don't just mean branding wise. In terms of the personnel, we've got our ownership is very young. I'm the second oldest partner, 45. So we've got hopefully we've got a long period ahead of us where we've all got the same goals, we've all got the same ambitions, and I'm very, very confident we can do it. I've got no intention of DFA becoming a £20 million turnover law firm. That doesn't interest me at all. I'd like us to get a bit bigger. I'd like us to grow organically where we can, and we're on the right path to do that. So I'm very confident. I honestly believe we've got a brilliant legal team, and that's all very well having brilliant team at the heads of departments. My challenge, I suppose, is to attract good people below that level, but with an aspiration that this is what you might be able to have.
Awesome. Again, I know I've said thank you a couple of times, but I really do want to say thank you for coming on. Hopefully people have found this insightful.
I hope so. Look, and if any, and I don't say this lightly, if anybody is struggling and they want to have a chat, just send me a message. I will, I've got no shaming sitting in a pub crying. There are coping mechanisms. There are, I should just say as well that my son at primary school has had really good pastoral care, and they've been amazing at Cooklow Primary School. He had a period where he was struggling a bit, and they arranged for some counselling, and he did that. And he had a wobble again the Friday before half term, but they took him aside. He, spent some time with one of the lead teachers there, and I can't ask for more than that. That's fine. So if I can offer anything back, I'm happy to try and do it. I can't promise it will be successful, but nobody should suffer in silence. And there's a when you look around, then generally are amazing people around you. So
good. Thank you, Danny.
You're welcome, Frazer. Thank you.